for me, it boggles the mind after telling us what he has told us, the relationship with his counterparts in PF, the corruption that is there in government that has since worsened. Why anyone that is a brilliant lawyer in the opposition would defend any ZANU PF member that is accused of corruption. Maybe today he would be able to help us understand that, because that is a question I have had, that many people have had, that as opposition lawyers, you tell us about all these things that you witnessed, you as finance minister first, and seeing these things happening under your watch, seeing people steal money, taxpayers' money being diverted for personal use. And when the opportunity comes to hold these people accountable, or I know the argument has been that everyone has a right to a fair trial, everyone is innocent till proven guilty, and that justice is blind. But is there no case to answer in the sense that we could kill two birds with one stone here? Because we have you as opposition members knowing what is exactly happening and having the prosecutors.
Well, look, I agree that the optics are not good. I agree that in an ideal environment, that should not happen. But I also know, and I speak for myself. I've represented characters where no lawyer in Zimbabwe would touch that person. And my first experience was actually with the Dabaning story many years ago when I was a young lawyer. Dabaning story was charged with treason, and I was a young lawyer with 5 years experience. No lawyer in Zimbabwe was prepared to touch him because they were afraid of ZANU PF. And then I ended up doing this big treason case when I was very young. And some few years ago, I faced the same thing. No lawyer could touch this particular client. So sometimes, you say to yourself, we took an oath. It's just like doctors. Doctors take an oath, the Hippocratic oath to save life. But there is no even a doctor will be disbarred if you are in, for lack of a better example, you are a triple C doctor or one aligned to the democratic change, and you say, I can't treat this doctor, they will disbar you. So sometimes lawyers themselves find themselves in that situation. And I'm speaking of myself because I've found myself in that situation. But I agree with the criticism. I agree that the optics don't sound right, and which is why you've never heard me defend anyone. But I just want you to let you know that subjectively, some things happen which you can't explain. You probably explain in memoirs because to the outside world they don't make sense. And I've been in that situation. I've given the example of Ndabaning story 95. No lawyer, and the iron of Ndabaning story that he had actually been paying a retainer to one of Zimbabwe's biggest law firms. But when push comes to shove, they couldn't touch him. Round about the same time, I represented Margaret Dogo, you remember, in Sanindo when ZANU PF cheated her out. And no lawyer again in Zimbabwe could touch her. And Maduku, when you were still part of us, came to me and said, Tendai, you are the only one who can do it. And I said, Maduku, but you are also a lawyer. And even he didn't want to do it. So there are always stories behind stories. Speaking for myself, but I agree entirely that the optics doesn't sound good. But sometimes there are things that one can't stand out and explain. One can start. There are also relatives. I know one or two cases where the client is ZANU PF, the lawyer it belongs to our movement, but they're actually relatives. But that person can come out and say, but this is actually my uncle. He paid my school fees and so forth. So in other words, sometimes there are stories which we can't come out and defend. But I agree absolutely that the optics are not good.